come. All right.
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. V. Mohan, and for those of you who have not seen me for some time, my apologies. I'd been doing a lot of the Facebook Live programs in the past, and I took a little break because I got busy with many things. So welcome back. Today we have on the show a very special guest, and I'd like to introduce you to him, Mr. Harsh Kohli, who has type 1 diabetes and will be talking to us about it. So welcome, Harsh. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself to start with?
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to have a live session with you. Hi, everyone. I'm Harsh Kohli. I have lived with type 1 diabetes since past 28 years, and also my younger son, Arush. He got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes in 2016 when he was 4. He's 8 today. So we both, father and son, are managing our sugars
Where you
well.
live and
I, I'm from New Delhi, so we live in New Delhi. And along with that, I co-founded a community with 7 other people for type 1 diabetes awareness in the country. We name it DIYA, Diabetes India Youth in Action. So,
thank you,
thank you once again.
thank you, Harsh, for that very brief introduction. So you said that you have got diabetes for 28 years. So how old were you when you got it, and how
I
is it?
was di- I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes in 1992. I was 11 at that time,
11.
and I was fortunate enough to have my mom actually diagnosed me. She did a
Oh,
blood sugar, a urine test on me, a urine dip test. One of her friends was a type 2 diabetic, so I was losing weight. So maybe she read somewhere or something. So one fine morning, she just asked me to do a urine check, and there in that, I still remember that urine stick, it went brown. So that time there was hardly even any awareness.
yeah.
What I all remember is that my mom's brother-in-law, he was a brigadier doctor in the army. So he told my mom that this vial of insulin is life for him. Do anything but don't stop that insulin. From that day, my parents, they managed me fabulously, very well.
You
So
were the first person with diabetes in the family, or
yes, no one in my family had any form of diabetes prior to prior to me.
very
Although there is
smart of your
yes,
mother to pick it up, even not, although
yes,
nobody in the family had diabetes, yeah.
yes.
And I think the
So
brigadier uncle gave the right message, because this is something
yes,
I know that a lot of type 1 children who are watching, and their parents are also watching this. And this is
right,
something which we keep telling everyone.
right,
Whatever it is, like you said, it's life. There are a few things essential to life. One is water. Without water,
right.
how can we live? Even if I give you tons of gold, but I don't give you water, you will die. Similarly, if I give you
Absolutely
a
correct.
lot of gold and diamonds, but I don't give you food to eat, you will die. Third
Right.
thing, if I don't give you air to breathe, oxygen or air to breathe, but I give you everything
Yes,
else, water, food, I'll give you, but I won't allow you to breathe, then you will die.
yes.
Now, the fourth one I would like to include in that is insulin, because if
Insulin for us.
for a type 1 diabetic, I'll give you everything else, but I won't give you insulin. That is enough to kill the person with type 1 diabetes. In fact,
Yes.
this year it's very special. This is the first program I'm
Mhm.
doing, and this is the 100th year of insulin. It was
Insulin.
on, in April 1921 that Frederick Banting and Charles Best started working on
Yes.
insulin discovery
Insulin.
on rats. And by June, they had discovered insulin. In 2 months' time, they had operated on so many
Right.
dogs, made them diabetic, and they took out the juice extract from the pancreas, injected it, and then reduced the sugar. And for the first time, showed that the
Right.
pancreas had something to do with diabetes. And so I had
Right.
the pleasure of visiting that Banting and Best Institute about 1.5 to 2 years
Oh,
ago,
wow.
and I gave a lecture there. I was invited to give a talk, and it was very,
Wow.
kind of homecoming for me, because right from my childhood, I had idolized Frederick Banting and Charles Best. In fact,
Right.
when I was
Yes.
in medical college, second year, third year, like Best was, I also did dog experiments. I also produced diabetes in dogs, and so on. Worked on very similar things. So it had a
Right.
lot of it ran a lot of brought back very pleasant memories. Now, of course, that
Right.
building has been raised down, and now they put up another
Yes.
building. But part of it is
Same.
converted into a museum where
This.
band instruments and everything are kept. So that is a great thing. And then it was in January 11, 1922, that the first injection was
True.
given to
Yes, it
Leonard
is given.
Thompson. And that's why
Yes.
January 11th is called as World Insulin Day.
What
Now,
insulin day? You would have said.
and November 14th, of course, World Diabetes Day because it's a birthday of Frederick Banting.
Right.
So it's all very great. And so why I'm saying this is at that time before 1921, if you were born before 1921, exactly 100 years ago, and you had type 1
Yes.
diabetes, you would live for 3 months, 2 months, 6 months was unusual, 1 year is unknown. No
Yes.
for one.
Yes.
And today we are
It,
living for 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years with type 1
yes.
diabetes because of.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. I mean, there's a famous saying which says that the person with diabetes who knows the most lives the longest. It's a very,
Absolutely.
very famous quote.
Why? And that point you
And
made about the brigadier uncle telling you is very relevant to the audience because there are many other systems of medicine which very unfortunately say, I don't want to name those systems of medicine, but I've
yes,
lost one children to that. Somebody lures them away saying, why are you taking that insulin all your life you have to take? I have got this native herb which will cure you. And the poor
absolutely.
are not educated, no, they believe them. And then after a month, when we call them back to give insulin, we give free insulin to many of these children. And then we call
Yes,
them back, they say, oh, my child died. And we say, what? How did the child die? No, no, no. I got, somebody called me and said they can cure me. So I stopped insulin and gave this, and my child died. And then I say, this is like murder. You know that insulin
yes,
is good, and then you stop the insulin. It's like stopping the air to somebody or choking somebody and killing, you're chopping off the air supply. Same thing you're doing when you're stopping the insulin. So for a type 1 diabetic, as you very rightly said, person with type 1 diabetes, stopping insulin is like a murder. So one of the
absolutely.
points I want to make with WHO, I'm part of a WHO committee which met on last World Diabetes Day on November 14, 2020. Virtually we
Yes,
met. And then what we decided was that every child with insulin in the world, in the 100th year of insulin, every child with type 1 diabetes in the world should get insulin. There should be no payment or anything,
yes.
but should be
Insulin
able
for
to,
all.
yeah, insulin for all.
Insulin
If
for
that we are
all.
able to achieve, I think it will be
Yes.
really good. So let me get back to you. So when you were 11 years old, you got diabetes. How was it in school, and were you able to take part in all your activities? How did the children treat you in school? How did the teachers treat you? Did they treat you well, or was there some kind of discrimination, bullying, things because, oh, he's diabetic like that? Did you feel anything like that?
My teachers were they were very very supportive of me. But
Very good.
yes, at a point, to a certain extent, I would not say too much of bullying, but yes, I did face bullying.
Okay.
But
I've had
then I was able to overcome it.
some have said that we had very supportive friends and so on. There are others who came and said, I dread my school days. Even today, I can't. How much of bullying I went through. Even the teachers, in some schools have not been
My teachers were very supportive.
excellent.
Few friends were supportive, but not all. I mean,
Okay.
so it's a part of life. I accepted it, and
Especially
I'm still.
when you would have soon reached adolescence, and as a teenager, you would have felt
Yes,
everybody pointing
yes,
out, fellows injecting, and he's
yes.
doing
I I
doing.
I hit puberty quite early, so I was like maybe after my 12th year, maybe because
Okay,
of something. So
okay,
that made me sit out of the. I mean,
uh,
I was something out of there.
okay, okay.
Yeah,
Very good. Then what
but
about sports and so on? Were you able to take part in school and all that? Or
I was an active person. I was an
okay,
active person, but I was never a sports player, to be very honest. But I always used to do physical activities because one thing that has been taught to me from the starting is that physical activity is very important for us. So I used to play mild level of sports like gully cricket that we all played. I used to play for hours, in fact, and cycling is one another passion which I follow till date.
till
I
date.
mean, in fact, till date, yes, I go for cycling till date every day 1 hour. Although the Delhi winters have forced me to remain indoors, but I'll just start it as soon as the weather improves.
Very good. Excellent. And you
Yes.
said that when I spoke to you earlier, you said that in the first few years you were treated with only 2 injections of premixed
Yes.
insulin. How did that
Yes.
happen? So, how did, despite knowing you
That,
had type 1, they just asked you to take 2 injections, is it? Or
yes, sir. I would say that at that time in 90s, that was the only available therapy. The analogs, they were introduced only after 2000.
okay.
And till that time, I used to think that I have been managing well. I used to go for my HbA1c checkups, and at times I
What
used
was
to
it
learn.
when you were on 2 times insulin? What was your HbA1c?
So that varied between 7.5 to 9.
Oh, okay. So it
Yes,
still
but
wasn't
I
too
don't.
bad. Yeah, yeah, still wasn't
Yeah,
too bad, but yeah.
yeah. So
But still not enough. Definitely not enough. Ah,
not
yes.
enough.
Anybody? No. Okay. Right. So then afterwards, when did you make the switch to what we call as basal bolus? For those of you who are listening, insulin, of course, we know is very important for survival, but it's not enough if you just take one shot of insulin or two
Right.
shots of insulin. 99.5% of all type 1 patients need 3 to 4 injections of insulin if they are to be normal. The way the body produces insulin is every time you eat, and that's 3 meals, you'll get little spikes
Yes.
of insulin.
Spikes.
That is what is called as the bolus insulin that you give, either with a pump or with injection. You can take that bolus,
Yes.
and then the body is also secreting insulin throughout the day, and that is what is called as
Correct.
basal insulin. So if you have a
Basal.
basal
Correct.
bolus regime, you are imitating what the human pancreas produces. So, Harsh, when did you change over to that?
Sir, things. I honestly, I was never in touch with anybody from the community all those years.
Yeah.
Things changed for me when my son Arush got diagnosed in 2016.
Okay.
I was a silent person with diabetes till that time. I never
Okay.
used to discuss my diabetes with anyone.
Okay.
So till date, I blame myself, no one else, that I never went to my physician and asked him, "Sir, is there something new which comes up for me?" I never, I never put in the desired efforts. In
Okay.
already an overburdened healthcare system, I cannot expect my doctor to do everything for me. I have to put in efforts. I need to
Okay.
put in a lot of efforts.
Okay.
So
So, which
primarily after its diagnosis,
only 4 5 years ago you switched to the first 24
yes,
years to 2 injections.
yes, yes.
Okay.
In 2016, when my son Arush got diagnosed, that was the first time I was introduced to what we call the basal and bolus therapy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I decided that how can I be a role model for him if I don't have my sugar levels in check.
Okay.
That was the time I met a wonderful doctor who's also a type 1 herself. So
Oh.
that doctor helped me switch over to basal and bolus therapy. And
Okay.
from there on, I learned carbohydrate counting and all those details. And I won't mind sharing it with everyone that my weight before I was in the basal and bolus therapy was 86 kgs.
Okay.
After shifting to basal bolus therapy and following diets properly, I lost 20 kgs of weight.
Oh, that's
So
amazing. Wonderful.
yeah, I've even shared
Normally,
if
normally people say with insulin weight will go up, but here you are changing from 2 injection to 4 injection. Actually, lost 20 kilos in weight. So that shows that
but
it's not just the insulin, but your diet, your exercise, your
yes,
activity, carbs,
it's all
everything
about yes.
reduced. Yeah.
And
Excellent.
after that, my HbA1c levels, they came. It gradually my HbA1c levels came down. I would like to emphasize that the levels HbA1c did not come down in a day.
Okay.
It took me almost an year of practice to get below 6.5.
6.5.
And
Okay. So
and why I'm saying
what's your latest
yes,
or best HbA1c?
6.03.
Wow. Okay.
And the important point here I want to highlight is that I have less of hypoglycemic episodes. So
Excellent.
for the general people, if we are more of hypoglycemias, that means that our HbA1c would again be lower. It's just an average of our sugars.
Correct. Correct. That's
Like,
falsely low
yeah,
HbA1c. Correct.
yes. So that is what I have learned, that HbA1c with less of hypos is a true indicator.
Correct, correct, absolutely. And you never went on a pump. You always used only the basal and bolus injections only. What we call as
I
one
am
doses of.
previously I shifted to a pump, but all these outcomes were on basal bolus through MDIs only.
Okay, and now also you're on MDA only.
I'm on pump currently.
Now
For
you're on
for now
last.
now I'm on pump, but the
Oh,
changeover, it for 2 years I was on basal bolus. I was on MDIs only. I
and
learned
then
all the nitty-gritties.
you got the
Yes,
control even with the basal bolus MDA also.
yes. My, people do ask me day in day out that is it always advisable to go to a pump? What I
Hmm.
tell them is learn the basics of diabetes management first,
Correct.
then switch over to a pump. Otherwise, people with diabetes, they think of pump as a magic device. That
Uh,
okay, no, I have a pump. So
in fact,
my humble
it will
request.
be very bad because I found, in fact, we published a paper many years ago, and the editor of the journal, Dr. Satish Garg, who's himself a specialist in type 1 diabetes. He is the chief diabetologist at the Barbara Davis Center for Diabetes in
Oh,
Children, the very famous one in Denver, which is the largest. That's where
yes,
George Eisenbach discovered GAD antibody assay and all that.
yes, yes, yes,
That center, when we sent our a paper for publication, he picked up that point and he said, "It's not very. That was the first paper on pump from India." And what he said was very interesting, Mohan. See, from somewhere 11 something mean of the patient. Of course, my worst patients went on the pump. So from somewhere 11, it came down to 7 mean for everyone. But then after 6 months to 1 year, they're again jumping up to 8, 9 on a mean. They didn't
right,
go back to 11, but they didn't stay at
right,
7. Why is that
right,
happening? He said. Then I said, you know why? When they all buy the pump, they've spent a lot of money, and so they are very interested to do the pump and to find the thing, and then boluses, and then eat
right.
carb counting and everything. Then they think it's on autopilot. They think the pump will do everything.
Exactly,
Start eating everything. They are not testing. They are not doing anything. No SMPG, no CGM, nothing. And they just think the pump
absolutely.
will do everything. Pump is not a magic. If you have, I always keep telling, if you have a television, you don't even switch it on. What's the point having
Yeah,
100 if you don't even switch on the television and you
yeah,
keep it blank all the time? What's the point having 100 channels or 1,000 channels? It's not going to help you.
absolutely. Pump
Only
is
the
next level in diabetes management.
Exactly, exactly. So if you don't know the fundamentals, that is why whenever new patients come to us, we just show them the pump and say, this is what the pump
Right.
looks like. Why? For the future, they must know that there is something called pump.
Yes.
I will never
Pump.
sell a pump to them in the first visit saying, take the pump, take
Absolutely.
the pump. Because they
Right.
may not even like it. They may not even mentally be prepared for it. You have to
Absolutely.
graduate into a pump. Not quickly you buy
Right.
a pump and then go ahead without without driving a car and not knowing. You can't go and buy
Right.
Mercedes Benz. You
Right.
cannot. You must know what is a
Here,
car and read.
here I would say that
Yeah,
here I would like to say that we just learning to ride a bicycle, and
yeah,
all of a sudden I'm being handed a BMW to drive.
exactly.
So
Correct. So you're not even knowing what a car is, and before that BMW, you don't even know what the features are. And very
absolutely.
often, even we give it as we feel bad, and to a poor person we give this and all that. First of all, they won't be able to afford the consumables, but quite often
Consumable cost.
they're not ready for it. So they must be
Right.
first mentally and physically ready to do that. And when you go on to
Absolutely.
a pump, you actually need to test more because you have to do
Right.
more testing, more awareness, more motivation. Only then you'll achieve what you have to achieve. Why don't you bring Arush and ask him to say hello?
Yeah, yeah.
So people,
Arush, please come. Come. I'll just hand over.
yeah, sure.
Say hello to everyone, Arush.
Come, sit down, Arush. Don't feel bad. Nothing we do is not happening. Come.
He's a little too shy now.
All right, then leave it. Don't force him. Don't.
He's a little too shy. I don't know what has happened. All of a sudden, he's there. He's there. He's there now. He's,
There he is. Arush,
Arush, say hello to sir.
say hello.
Say hello. Good evening.
Hello, good
There are a
evening.
lot of people watching you. Okay,
I'll
and
hand over the seat to him. I'll make him sit.
yeah. Come, Arush, sit.
Yeah.
You're now what? 8 years old?
Yes,
8 years old. Okay. And what you're taking injections or you're also on pump or what? You're taking injections every day? How many injections?
Say yes, I am on insulin.
I'm on insulin. I'm not on a pump.
Okay, how many insulin per
2.
day?
1 Lispro and 1 Lantus.
And I know, but how many Lispro? How many times?
3 times.
3 times.
3 times. So you take it with breakfast, lunch, dinner, correct?
Yeah.
Along with that, Lantus you take in the morning or night?
In 11 o'clock. On 11 o'clock.
Be
11
loud.
o'clock. 11 o'clock in the morning.
On 11 o'clock.
So we
Okay.
actually split his basals.
Oh, so you're taking twice. Okay, okay.
Yes, yes, yes.
Very good, very good. Okay.
Yes.
And what sports do you play? What games?
Cricket.
Cricket.
And
Because there were some children who are your age who consulted me this morning, and so I told them that you're going to listen to Arush today. They had just been diagnosed 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. So I said, Arush has already got it for 4 years, and he is managing very well with 4 injections a day. So listening to you, they will feel very happy. If Arush can do it, we can do it.
yes,
Correct?
you do.
Yes.
How you check your sugar? Tell sir how you manage your, how you check your sugars.
I am on Lispro.
Now, how do you test your sugar?
I'm on Libre Pro.
How do you
Libre
check?
Pro. Excellent. Excellent.
And we latest put Mayo.
Mayo. Okay. So you put Lispro and then you get it on the phone now. You can see your sugar on the phone. Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. And what's your HbA1c? Do you know your HbA1c? 3 months average?
His last was 6.5. He does not remember those things. His last was
Amazing. Amazing. Okay. Okay. This is the 3 months control test, Arush. Okay. 6.5
Yeah.
that you have is amazing. It is really good. And so you should continue it. You will be a role model for many others. The children who are listening to you, there somebody's already said, Shobha Malik has said, inspirational and educative talk, great going, Harsh and Arush. Already you've got fans. Soon they'll come to you for autograph. Arush, give me an autograph, and then you'll be autographing. Okay? If you look after your diabetes well, you'll get many, many fans. Okay?
Let
So
me
thank-
apprise whosoever. He is on the taller side in his class.
Excellent, excellent.
He's one of the tall guys in his class.
Your
That's
home is very yes.
That's one of the signs that your sugar control is good, because
Right.
those who have type 1 diabetes and their sugar is not controlled, they tend to be very short.
Yes.
Okay, so when you're growing, it means that you're getting enough insulin and that everything is fine. Oh, here is Roshan Poncha. Roshan Poncha has the 2 boys there. Okay, and so Roshan has written, amazing and congratulations, Arush is such an active and such a positive child. Amazing HbA1c. You're a role model even for adults, not for children. Thank her. No, she's paid you such a good compliment. Okay, so Roshan Poncha has diabetes of more than 40 years and she has 2 boys, one about your age. I'm a big fan, Arush. I'm Auntie Roshan, she says. So, okay. So you already got fans. You'll soon start a fan club. We can have a separate channel for you. Okay? Just joking.
It's very luxurious.
What? What do you say? Oh, there's another. Vijay Rawat says, I am a big fan of Arush. See, I told you, you're getting number of fans now. Lots of fans are coming for you. Okay. There, another one. Sanjay Rajpal. Having you in this conversation is another feather in the cap. Your presence will inspire many of your type 1 brothers and sisters, but also parents of type 1 too. Wonderful, wonderful. You know what? All these comments will be stored on Facebook and on YouTube. So not only people who are watching today, but those who are watching it tomorrow, day after tomorrow, after 1 year also, they'll be remember. You can watch this program when you grow up, Arush. After 5 years, you can watch this program and then say, oh my God, this is what I was. This is how I spoke when I was 8 years old. Now I'm 15 years old. and you can look back on this program. Okay.
Say
Thank
thanks.
you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Say
Thank you for
you.
joining.
Thank you.
Okay.
He's actually very naughty fellow.
No, I know he should be. Yo,
Yeah.
if I tell you about my grandson, he doesn't have diabetes, but he's 12 years old, not much older than
Yeah.
Arush. Oh my God, the kind of naughty things he does. He'll go and change my background of my Zoom meeting, and when I go there, I'll find all kinds of funny backgrounds, and he'll be laughing at the back, and I won't know how to change it back.
Right.
So boys of that age, I think, should be naughty. Okay, we'll take 2-3 questions from here, and then I'll come back to Dia and what you do, the great work that you do.
Right. Right.
So Ajit Nawale, he wants to ask you, what diet do you follow?
I follow a balanced diet wherein I try and moderate the carbs I eat.
Okay. So why don't you
What I
take a day's diet?
my day so previous honestly I'll be very upfront. I'm on an intermittent fasting as of now.
Okay.
So I don't want to say that intermittent fasting is the go-to thing for people with type 1 diabetes. But
Okay.
because I am on the pump, I am able to manage the intermittent fasting wherein I control my basals for the time I am fasting.
And if you don't eat, you don't take a bolus that way.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. That
Yes.
for pump it works very well. For
Yes.
people who are not on pump, it's going to be a problem because
It
then
is.
they
That's why I said the disclaimer that it's not the go-to thing for people with type 1
Anyway,
diabetes.
just tell us what you do for your diet.
Sir, my first meal of the day is at around 1:30. So I have a small serving of fruit and few nuts along with that.
Okay.
Then at around 2:30, I sit down for my lunch. I'll have, depending on what is there, I'll have one or two chapatis, a bowl of salad.
Okay.
First goes the bowl of salad for me. Then goes the vegetables. And along with that, if it's a curry or something, I'll have a chapati. We are not rice eaters, so most of the days it's like chapati only. Then in the evening around this time 5:36, I'll have a cup of filter coffee. I love South Indian filter coffee. I'm a big fan. So
Okay.
I'll sit down, I have a cup of filter coffee and some light snacks, maybe a boiled egg or an omelette or some sorted mushrooms, these sort
Okay.
of things, or a besan ka chila.
Hmm.
And then again for dinner is mostly for me it's very less of carb. Again I'll try and have an omelette, something like that, something which is very low, because I'm out of that span wherein I need food to grow, I need food to sustain myself. So I can afford that.
Okay. Wonderful. I think you have answered, Ajita. I think Harsh has answered that question for you. So Rangasamy, here it is.
Yes.
Vaccine. Coming to that favorite thing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Rangasamy Rangsi. He wants to ask, can diabetic person get COVID vaccine? Rangasamy, I think particularly diabetic people should get the COVID vaccine. And I was very surprised when I saw in the paper saying that people with comorbidity should not take the vaccine. And I said, no, I disagree, because after all, if you look at the COVID, how they have fared, people with COVID with comorbidities, without comorbidities. People without comorbidities, they just got it like an ordinary flu and they recovered. The ones who did badly were those who had uncontrolled diabetes, uncontrolled hypertension, had heart disease or respiratory disease or some other comorbidities. And
Absolutely.
these people are the ones who did badly. So what are we taking a vaccine for? The vaccine is taken to protect you from dying or from getting any comorbidity. So if everyone with diabetes avoids it, then what's a big idea in taking a vaccination? I think that's a completely wrong thing, that people with comorbidities should not take it. I think they're the first people who should take it. In fact, after the health line workers and all that, the government itself has said that those who are at higher risk should be given. Now,
That
the question which I think Harsh asked me earlier, just before we
yes.
started, can people with type 1 diabetes take the vaccine? Well, you should also take, type 1 diabetes should also take a vaccine, because although the majority of people who did badly were type 2 diabetic people, I know in India, from the newspaper reports itself, I know 3 to 4 type 1 youngsters who were 18, 19, 20 years old have died due to COVID. So they had type 1 diabetes, they didn't have any problem, then they developed COVID and they died. So if that is
Yes.
so, we cannot, exclude type 1 diabetic people with from COVID vaccination. So it's my personal view that although I don't have any studies or big studies because COVID itself is new, nobody has experience. But I believe that everybody should take the vaccination. Vaccines are safe. There have been one or two incidents like that, especially in Norway, where people above 85 years of age who received the Pfizer vaccine. There were a few deaths. In India now, several lakh people have already been vaccinated. There's been one death, totally one, and we don't even know whether the person died due to that or not. But otherwise, 10 or 15 people had some little severe thing, and they all recovered. The others had, about 10% of people had little flu or headache or little joint pains, which after 24 hours, 48 hours, with a couple of paracetamol, it recovered. I took a personal shot myself.
Yes, I had seen you taking this.
67 years old now, and I took the vaccine, the first shot, and I didn't even know I took the vaccine. And my daughter, my son-in-law, and at least about 30, 40 people in my hospital have already taken it. The doctors, frontline workers, the nurses, not one of them has had even any reaction whatsoever. So I think vaccination is a must, and everybody should take it.
That brings another important question to picture, sir. Do we have a priority list for people with type 1 diabetes for the vaccination?
I think we should.
How should we go about creating that list, sir? Because that's important.
I think through the doctors, it's not still clear to the see what the government first did was they wrote to all of us and said, government hospital, private hospital, give us a list of the frontline workers. So we gave the frontline workers. Now they're ticking off and saying, yeah, come and take it. So that's being done. But give us a list of your patients. They have not asked so far. So I have a feeling that after the initial, first they gave in Chennai, talking about Chennai, first they said only government. Then they gave one hospital. Then they gave two. Today they've announced another 4. So 6 hospitals now. I'm sure in another 2-3 weeks they'll say 200 hospitals can do it. So once that, or every hospital can do it, following some, they should have some regulation or something like that. And so I am hoping that my hospital, because many of my patients said, we'll only take it if you give it. We trust you and we want your hospital to give it. We have come there for everything, including flu vaccination, including pneumococcal we've taken from you. Give us this also. So we have written to the government saying, see, we are a diabetic center. Please allow us to give it. And then we will give all our patients and say, you come and you take it. So I think for people with type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes, both should be brought into the priority list of people who are thing. And I think as associations, what I would suggest, your DIYA can write, as well as diabetes can write, and all the other associations which are left on diabetes, write to the RSSDI, our Research Society Study of Diabetes. Dr. Banshi Sabu may be listening to this. A good friend of mine is the president of RSSDI. So you just write a letter to the RSSDI. Also write to the government and to the health minister and to the prime minister, saying that we feel that we are at very high risk and therefore we need to be protected. And we are a limited number of people in India with type 1 diabetes, not like type 2, which is 76 million people. We are a limited number of people. So why don't you give it to us? And so we will then take it up and then give it to the government and then say, and whichever place you are going to for your treatment, it can be given as part of the routine treatment when you go there, following the precautions, then it can be done. So I think it's a very valid point that you raised, and I want to tell the public, don't be scared. Don't be scared at all, and take it.
And maybe we can get two outcomes from this as well. We can have the much needed data about the prevalence of type 1 diabetes in India.
In India, correct.
Especially we don't have any such data as of now.
Correct. So we'll be able to, So
we'll be humbled. We'll be humbled. The community would be humbled, sir, if you can take the lead in this.
I'll definitely do that, and I'll bring it up with we have recently all the diabetologists of India, the top 50 people have come together to form a type 1 diabetes network. 40 centers of excellence have been set up, and I must congratulate Dr. Banshi Sabu, my good friend from Ahmedabad, who has taken the lead on this. He's very much committed to that, and so it's very easy for us to bring this up as part of the network. And all these centers of excellence can be identified as COVID centers for type 1 diabetes and for vaccination of COVID. And I think we should take it up. Thank you for telling me, and we will definitely take it up. Okay.
Thank you so much.
So
Thank
a
you for
couple
bringing.
of other questions, then I'll come to DIYA.
Yes.
Which vaccine have you taken? Jaimala Singh is asking me. I took the Covishield, Jaimala, because that was what I was offered. And so the hospital where I went to, they gave me that. So it's been very good for me. There's somebody is asking, should kids under 12 take vaccine? No. Right now, leave alone diabetes or no diabetes, the vaccine is currently recommended people above 18 years of age. So let's follow that for the time being. So there are a couple of questions to you. Sangeeta is asking, is peanut butter okay for meals? And Usha Diman is asking you, do you get enough calories from what you said? Are you getting enough calories? We'll start with that.
Yes. I do track my calories, and yes, I'm able to get 1200 calories a day.
1200 is fair enough. So Usha, that answers the question, because you remember he's taking a lot of protein, he's also taking vegetables, he's taking
Yes.
fruit, he's getting all the healthy things. He's not going on one of those crazy fad diets, but it's a very
all-
balanced, little carb,
all-
little protein, little fat, little everything he's getting. So
This is all thanks to the wonderful person Cheryl is. That's been taught by Cheryl. Actually, I
thank
owe
you.
it.
I'm sure you're on the show, and Harsh has been singing your praises since I last met him. So, Cheryl, you've done a wonderful job, and I want to thank Cheryl for helping Harsh and many others with their diet. Now, Shahana Majumdar, the pump is not magical, but what is a paradigm shift is any constant glucose monitoring that you can do and make corrections. You want to respond to that? CGM is more important than pump, she says.
I would certainly agree to her that with the CGM, we actually get to know that what is happening with our sugar levels.
Correct.
So, and if we can have a pump in tandem with a CGM,
Yeah.
it's going to make life much more easier. We can actually see where our levels are going. So, yes, number one is CGM, then comes the pump for me.
Correct.
Definitely like to put somebody on a CGM first. So that, and it's like the patient gets to know what is really happening with his or her levels. And then this comes the call for action. That okay, now I need to act. So
100%.
definitely.
Pump is just you're wearing it. You don't have any call to action. Whereas with CGM,
Yes.
you're seeing that peak, and after lunch it's going up,
Right.
going up.
Right.
And in fact, I mentioned the Barbara Davis Center, and we have every year a meeting called the Keystone Symposium, one of the best symposiums in the US that I go to every year. And there we had a debate on which is more important, pump or CGM. And the
Yes.
CGM won hands down, because they said a pump without CGM is impossible. Whereas CGM without pump, you can still do something, you can
Right.
do MDI to a large extent, you can adjust. But a pump alone without CGM is, what are you going to do? Just check the sugars every time you're going back 10 years in your life. So,
Right.
as you said, if you have both, then it's a big super winner combination.
And honestly, I've seen people who still are on MDIs, and along with CGM, they are getting absolutely wonderful, wonderful HbA1c levels.
Correct. So CGM is a must. Today, without CGM, there's no treatment of diabetes today, especially type 1. Then
Yes.
AGP and pump bound together. Yes, Prabhu. That's exactly what he said. The CGM and pump together, either in the same machine or simultaneously, independently.
Yeah.
So that's over which vaccine. Does millets increase goiter if consumed with type 1 diabetes with hypothyroid? Shruta, Kirti. Shruta, there is a view, yes, some of these millets are goitrogenic. We don't have the final answer on that, but if in doubt, avoid. Then come back to rice. And the other thing I want to tell you, that there are so many videos I see on YouTube. Chapati is a villain. Chapati produces diabetes. Chapati produces a thing. Wheat produces this. Wheat is the culprit. Wheat is the poison. Wheat is this. Wheat is consumed by millions and billions of people all over the world. How can that be the cause of diabetes or the cause of anything? These are all, unrealistic, unsubstantiated claims. Now, I have also shown that rice produces type 2 diabetes, not because rice is a poison, but excess consumption of carbs. What we
Yes.
eat in South India, first mountain of rice for sambar, next mountain of rice for rasam, next mountain of rice for curd or yogurt or something. So 3 mountains of rice. But if you keep on eating, your carbohydrate load goes very, very high. You already have a genetic predisposition to it, and therefore
Yeah.
you get. So I'm not saying don't take rice. All I'm saying is many people immediately attack me and say,
Moderate.
"Are you telling them not to eat rice? All these generation people have lived on rice." No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying reduce the amount of rice that you take. Take a small portion of rice
Moderation
one.
is the key.
That's it. Don't take three big mountains of rice, especially if you are diabetic or pre-diabetic. And our estimates show that in a city like Delhi, Chennai,
Yeah.
Mumbai, Calcutta, by age 60, 70, 80 to 90% of the population is at risk of getting diabetes.
That's
It's
right.
not 40%, it's 80% of the population. So with that kind of a risk, we must cut down the carbohydrate. I'm not saying avoid carbohydrate, go to keto diet. I'm not saying all that. All I'm
Right.
saying is cut down the
Moderate.
carbohydrate, make it more balanced, take healthy fats, lot of protein, lot of
Right.
vegetables, green leafy vegetables, some amount of fruit, and make your diet a balanced diet. That's what you're saying. Uh,
Moderation is the key. Moderation is the
Moderation is the key. Moderation is the key. Arun Khanna, same question. Should kids continue vaccination? I don't think right now it's recommended. We'll have to wait. Do diabetic type 2 diabetic patients need regular? These are regular. I mean, regular questions to me. Okay, let's take a break there. We'll come back to the other questions. Now, I want to hear about your DIA. So you mentioned that after Arush came and
yeah.
had to diabetes, you want to do something for the society, and therefore you started DIA. Now tell us about DIA and what you do in DIA and how this network has formed, so that people who want to join can join.
Sir, honestly, Dia was born out of a coffee shop meeting.
Okay.
I had never met any person with type 1 diabetes ever in my life prior to Arush's diagnosis.
Okay.
And my wife got added to WhatsApp group of Arush pediatric endo. And therein, when she introduced, all of a sudden, from somebody who needed motivation, I was the one who started motivating people. One fine day, I got a call from a friend of mine, but a stranger that time. That, hi, I am a person with type 1 diabetes, and let's meet up. That was the day we met, and that's how somewhere in 2017, the seed of Diya was implanted. And we are 8 people in the core committee, and the oldest of us, she's been living with type 1 diabetes since almost 40 years now. She's Manjeet Bhatia. She lives with type 1. Then we have a complete board in place, and we are a registered NGO. We work as a society, and over these years, majorly we have been trying to raise awareness regarding what type 1 diabetes is.
Yes.
If today someone has type 1 diabetes, at least a basic level of awareness is there in the country. Earlier we never had these awareness that, and still we see people that when someone is diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, the first thing they know is, oh, you might have been eating too much of sugars. how can i how can an 8-month old kid get type 1 diabetes? I have seen kids as young as 8 months old who have type 1 diabetes. So that's one thing we started. We started raising awareness through our type 1 runs. Then next thing we started doing is we started doing regular meetups for the community, so that they can at least come and learn from each other, learn from example. I learned a lot. Honestly, I learned a lot from being a part of the community, and I could not do it alone. It was because all teamwork. We are a team of 8. We could achieve all what we have is because we worked as a team. We clicked, we gelled, we fight together, we love each other. At the end of the day, we are all one. And we have been able to do a lot for the community through our winter camps. It is one major thing which we do.
So
This year we
you
do.
had some pictures to share. I will show
Yes,
those
yes, yes.
pictures. Can we put those up? Those pictures. You can explain about those. Yeah.
Yeah. See, the first picture wherein I'm cutting in the cake, that was when I was on mixed starts, and
Okay.
as you can see, I'm on the bulkier side. Uh,
Okay.
my weight was around 88 kgs at that point of time. This is in somewhere in 2015. The next photograph is of July 2019, wherein I reduced my weight to 66 kgs. You can see both my sons, my wife, and me. So this is the
Your eldest
benefit.
son is okay. He doesn't have type 1 diabetes.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
eldest son.
yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
He's absolutely okay. This is another photograph of mine wherein we went to Bangalore to do a typhoon run. The
Okay.
parents from Bangalore, we have a wonderful community that exists in Bangalore. So we went to Bangalore. In fact, last year also I went to Bangalore for the launch of the Type 1 Diabetes Foundation of India. You might be aware of it. So
Ah,
I was also a part of the core committee, the planning committee, and all those. That
okay.
happened just prior to the lockdown happened, March
Okay.
2020. After that, the lockdown thing happened, and we things could not progress, but still some headway has been made. So this is the same photograph from Bangalore. We're all the community from the Bangalore over here. So today the Bangalore people, they are like they're very almost 200 people again in the Bangalore diabetes. They name it diabetes of Karnataka.
Okay.
The group. So and then comes the this is we all as the we participated in the much coveted Airtel Delhi half marathon.
Okay.
We were 21 people with type 1 diabetes who ran the 5 kilometer marathon, and all of us completed it. All the people you see here in the picture are living with type 1 diabetes. The
Okay.
youngest is a 16-year-old girl, the one who's in the middle. She's
Okay.
a 16-year-old girl. So we type 1 diabetes, people with type 1 diabetes, we can achieve everything and anything that's possible under the sun. We made a small skit over there as well to raise awareness. So, and through these initiatives, we have been able to bring that much needed awareness in the country that okay, something called type 1 diabetes also exists. Until before, we see this is an invisible illness. Honestly, type 1 diabetes is an invisible illness. We cannot explain that okay, I am unable to concentrate on my work because as of now I am having my sugar levels on the higher side. Fluctuations do happen day in day out. Type 1 diabetes, and at this point I would actually like to highlight and hear something about this, that we this is an invisible illness, and as of now we don't have any support, be it from the government, and when it comes to the insurance, everything has to be borne out of pocket. So if I can have your views regarding this as well, sir.
Yeah. So, there have been different, initiatives taken. The government had first said that we will call it as a disability. And the
Yes,
reason is not to label you as being abnormal or anything like that, but it gives you certain advantages. If you're
right.
come under the disability thing, a lot of concessions given, lots of other things given. This was
Yes,
discussed back and forth, and the house is divided because some people with type 1, people type 1 said, we don't want to be called disabled. We are not disabled,
right,
and we are actually normal people. We just have diabetes. It's a little metabolic disorder we have, but we are not disabled. So that
yes,
didn't really go down well. And then
yes,
the government also didn't know at what age to give it, how long to give it. It's only for children, not for children. It even came up to, I know that in the Tamil Nadu Assembly it was discussed,
yes,
and
yes,
there was a move to give, of course, to give insulin free. That, of course, is being given by the government even now. Those who
yes,
cannot afford insulin, most governments give insulin free. India is
yes,
one of the countries where it's much better, I would say. There are many
right,
other countries where children still die
yes,
because they cannot afford insulin. In
absolutely,
India, by and large, you can get insulin even in villages and remote places. We are much
right,
better than the other thing. But
right,
I agree with you. Everything comes through, getting together. And if
right,
you are an individual, you are nothing. But if you
right,
have individuals like this, associations like this, and as I mentioned, even in our type 1 diabetes initiative, there is a move to bring all the NGOs together. Because, like you, there is Diabetes, and there is
yes,
Blue Circle
yes,
Foundation,
blue
and there's
circle,
Tamil Nadu group, and there's Karnataka
yes,
group. And there are many
right,
groups, each one
right,
having 400, 500. You can
absolutely,
have all association of your own you can have, but bring
right,
them all together
all
under one, where you
one,
say now we have got 20,000 type 1s together, now that
absolutely,
has much more power. If you form a group together, now when
right,
you write to something, the people will listen to you, the government will listen to you, everybody will listen to you. So I think that
absolutely,
would be one suggestion for me. I've got three suggestions which I have to have. One is
Yeah.
that all the associations should come together, and
Absolutely.
in any way I can help you, or our organization can help you, or our association can help you, or my personal capacity I can help you, I would be more than willing to do that, because we also know people and so on, and therefore I'll be very happy to do that. Second, you mentioned the Manjit Bhatia who has finished 40 years of diabetes. I want to
Yes.
also mention to whoever is listening here that I am interested to get to know the clinical details of all those who have finished 40, 50 years of diabetes. Of course, 20, 30 years becoming very common. 40 years
Right.
is becoming common now. Above 50 is less common, but I have got many patients who have crossed 50 years of diabetes and 60 years of diabetes. One or two have crossed even 70 years of diabetes. So I would like to know if any of you have finished, let's say 50 years, let's keep it as 50 years of diabetes, because that's a golden jubilee. So if you
Yes.
have celebrated golden jubilee of diabetes, please
Yes.
write to me. My
As,
email ID, I will write it here. Cynthia, if you can type my email ID there.
as we speak, I can see Usha Dhiman ma'am amongst us. She's watching us. She's been
Yeah.
living with type 1 diabetes since 60 years now. She'll be
Oh,
completing
6 years.
61 years.
Usha, that's fantastic. Usha, I want you to send me all your clinical details. That's my email ID. If nothing else, I just want to have a kind of registry of everybody who has long-term diabetes. So I'm just typing my email ID now and putting it in the group. So I would like Usha Deeman to write to me, and any others who have finished 50, 60 years of diabetes. I'm trying to get all of you all together for a
Right.
meeting, if possible, after the COVID, is safer. I think another 4, 5 months from now, with all the vaccination and all that, we should be safe enough. So, Usha, you can also help us to connect with. You may have other groups of people who have that. Why don't you finish off this picture also, Harsh? Then I'll come back
So,
to the other
so
point.
this is from our 2019 winter camp, and
Okay.
if you can see the person sitting next to me, he's
Ah.
a visually impaired type 1 person with
Oh.
type 1 diabetes. He's from Andhra Pradesh, Lakshmi
Okay.
Narayan,
This
and
person.
he is a living motivation, sir. I mean,
Okay. Okay.
He comes from a place called Anantapur in Andhra Pradesh.
Near Puttaparthi, where Satya Sai Baba's. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and he is a living inspiration for me. Lakshmi Narayan, I would actually like to both you in front of everyone that you are an inspiration for everyone. I've
Amazing.
always seen him smiling. Always seen him smiling.
Send me a report about him and connect me to him, so that
Yes,
in
yes,
some
sure,
forum or
sure.
other, we will get him. So
Yes,
Lakshminarayan Anantapur, I would definitely like to connect with you, Lakshminarayan.
yes.
And so that's very nice. It's a beautiful picture. Where is this taken? Beautiful
Sir,
background.
this is in the outskirts of Delhi. This is near Faridabad. We had an
Oh,
outdoor winter camp when
wonderful.
there literally people from the north part of the country, Punjab, came over. People
Okay.
from Chennai, people from Bangalore flew down for this camp. We had around
Wow.
119 people with type 1 diabetes in the camp. The
Wonderful.
traffic were a bit higher, but there were 119 people with type 1 diabetes in the camp.
Excellent.
And
So, this is the one is the carb counting thing. Yeah.
this is a carbohydrate counting session which we conducted in July 2018.
Okay.
So much needed awareness and to let people know that it was an interactive session wherein they could actually ask what all their issues are, what they want to learn about carbohydrate counting.
Okay.
And one thing we had to emphasize through these workshops is please do listen to what your physician, your diabetologist, your endocrinologist has to say. We are the one who can guide you,
Yeah.
but the path has to be shown by your endocrinologist, by
Yeah.
your doctor.
Yeah.
Why? Because it's a mild disorder. Diabetes is a very mild disorder, but the complications they can be severe at times.
Right.
We cannot and should not do anything without our doctor's advice. If you are changing your insulin therapy, please don't do it without what your doctor has to say. It's
Very
it's a humble request. It's a humble request.
Very good point, because very often people think that now that we have a pump, we don't need the doctor, we don't need that. It's nice to be independent. We encourage all our people with diabetes to take control yourself, and but that does not mean if you have a car and so on, it doesn't mean you don't have to take the car to service anytime, and you
Right.
can do the service yourself. You still have to
Yes.
take the car to a repair shop, and
Yes.
also there are other diseases that a person with diabetes can develop. There's a lot of
Develop over time.
and unless you keep screening them, you'll miss all that. So I think a collaboration between the diabetologist, endocrinologist, and people with diabetes is very important, and I think
I
it's
think
very important to follow up.
here the community has a very important role to play, sir. We as community, we all should go and educate, bridge that gap that exists. We need to
Correct.
bridge that gap. Somewhere there is a gap, and the gap
Correct.
exists because, as I said in the beginning, our healthcare system is always overburdened. More often than not, I tell it to people who come to me that my levels are not under control or this or that. I ask them that, okay, first thing, tell me, when you're sitting inside your doctor's chamber, how many people are there sitting out?
Yeah, exactly.
So they do understand that, yes, so they have to do their homework, do your logging, do your SBMG, so that the doctor's task is cut out. We
And
need to do.
also simple thing like arranging your, if you're doing SMBG, just arranging your glucoses. These are all my fastings. These are all
Yes,
before lunches. These are my after lunches. If you bring it all like this, how are we going to even find out which is which?
that's right.
So therefore, I think you should help the doctors, and therefore they'll have more time to spend with you.
Yes,
So I just want to bring up two other points which I said I'll talk about. First is a
yes,
long-term diabetes. I already told you I want to get a registry of all long-term people with type 1 diabetes who have crossed 50 years
yes,
in this country.
yes,
I want to make a full list of the whole country and probably show it to, and so you can write to us. There it is, Dr. Mohan's at diabetes.ind.in. Please write to me personally. Say, dear Dr. Mohan, I heard you. I want to, include myself in the thing, and these are my details. Please just send it to me, and I'll be happy to get in touch. There's no commercial interest at all. This is merely to help you and help this community of people who have lived very long, so that you can motivate others. We don't even know who these people are. If you know
yes,
them, when a young child is diagnosed today to have type 1 diabetes, listening to you saying that I have it for 50 years, 60 years, is much more valuable than Dr. V. Mohan saying, no, it's okay, you can live for 50 years. That doesn't have much meaning. But when you say it, it has a lot of value. That's what I have in mind when you do that. That's the first
absolutely.
point. Second point I want to tell you is that while type 1 diabetes is properly diagnosed in our country in most cases, there are some whom we occasionally come across who don't have type 1 diabetes at all. They think that they have type 1 diabetes. Those days, they might not have been properly diagnosed. They might not have done C-peptide or GAD or any of those tests.
Yes,
Just because
yes,
somebody is 18 years old, this must be type 1, and then start on 4 times insulin.
right.
Okay, maybe 2%, 5% of those type 1s may not be type 1 at all. So how do we know that? We do the GAD antibody, it's negative. They need a very small dose of insulin. Their A1C doesn't go up very high. GAD
Right.
antibody negative, zinc transporter negative. Then in such cases, we do genetic testing. And using
Right.
that genetic testing, we can tell you within 3-4 weeks whether you really have type 1 diabetes or you have one of the monogenic forms of diabetes like maturity onset diabetes of the young
Yes.
or MODY.
Got
And if you have
it.
that, it may be possible to stop insulin and change you over to tablets. As I said, it may be a rare, maybe a small portion. The proportion may not be like 50% of all type 1, maybe 2% of the type 1s, but that 2%, it can be life changing. It's a miracle if you can stop insulin, then do that. So if any of you have such a doubt whether you really have type 1 or not, please contact me. The other thing we mentioned, Harsh mentioned that children as young as 8 months can get type 1 diabetes. I want to talk to you about another condition called neonatal diabetes. And neonatal diabetes is below 6 months of age. So if a child gets diabetes below 6 months of age, it's very unlikely to be type 1 diabetes because type 1 diabetes is very rare below 6 months of age. Having said that, I have seen children with 2 months of age and 3 months of age who have type 1, and they are really type 1 only. C-peptide is absent and they have to be on insulin throughout. But that's rare. Below 6 months, it's usually neonatal diabetes where genetic testing is a must. It's mandatory. And we are one of the few centers in India which does that. If we find out the type of neonatal diabetes, which gene is actually mutated and why the child got it, we can switch over from insulin to tablets. I have more than 300, 400 such children referred to me from all over the country for whom it's a big miracle. Just
Wow.
stop insulin, small dose
Yes.
of tablet, and the child does well for the next 20 years without insulin. So these are rare things, but they're available in India. And if you are belonging to that rare type, please contact us and we'll be happy to help you. So I want to tell you about long-term diabetes, neonatal diabetes, and MODY. Okay. Now there are a few questions we'll take.
Sir,
Paul Meyer is asking, what?
one thing before, one thing
Yes.
I would like.
Yeah.
Sir,
Harsh.
I just a few days back, I just saw your autobiography on Amazon, which is still taking. If you can please tell something. I mean,
Yeah. In fact, thanks for asking. I don't know whether you can see. This is the book, and it's
oh,
called Making Excellence a Habit: The
right.
Secret of Building a World-Class Healthcare System in India. And that's my autobiography. It's I've just started getting the first, but it's already available, as you said, for pre-order on Amazon. And
Yes.
if you just go to Amazon India and type Dr. V Mohan, this will come up. And then
Yes.
already I'm very happy to say that it's already listed among the bestseller list, although the book has still not come out. So one of the
Right.
few occasions where the book itself has not come out is already a bestseller. So many
Right.
orders have been placed for the books. I'm very humbled by that. But
Abs-
it will come out, and thousands of copies have already been ordered for this.
Yeah.
So I'll be very happy if you read, because I talk about in this book I talk about type 1 people with type 1 who have excelled, who have got
Yeah.
Nobel prizes, who have
Yeah.
become Miss America, who has become Pakistan's cricket captain Wasim Akram. So I have all these people kind of listed there. Gary Hall, who won the
Coming
Olympic
from
not once but more than once, and all
Yes.
that listed here as unique people with type 1 diabetes who have created history. So it's very inspiring to read
Right.
that. Thank you for asking.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's a pleasure to hear that from the directly from the horse's mouth, as I would like to phrase it.
Thank you. I'm sure you will be getting a copy, and I'll be happy to tell you. Somebody is asking, where is Dr. Mohan from? Oh, I'm from Chennai. I thought you knew that. Okay, something you didn't even know where I was. Okay, I'm from Chennai, but we have branches in about 50 branches in about 32 cities in India. But my headquarters was in Chennai only. So, name of the genetic testing, we call it as monogenic diabetes testing. So MODI, neonatal, all are included in one genetic test, which can rule out if it is not type 1, it can be ruled out. Tasin Chako, absolutely important to connect with the diabetologist and patient of Dr. Mohan for last 40 plus years. So
Wow.
Tasin, I will tell you, since she has mentioned, Tasin came to me when she was very young, just in a
Oh,
teenage, and she had been diagnosed of type 1 diabetes. And that's why probably she responded. And
right.
she was told that she has to take lifelong insulin. Those days we did not have genetic testing. But clinically, I was also a young doctor, just finished my MD. And so when I saw Tasin, I told her, you know what, Tasin, I don't think you have type 1 diabetes.
Oh,
And she said, Dr. Mohan, I'll die if I don't take insulin. I said, I'm aware of that, but I don't think you have type 1 diabetes. I think you have MODI, maturity onset diabetes young. And she
right.
said, you think you can stop insulin? I said, yes, if you get admitted, I'll stop insulin and try tablets. And lo and behold, I stopped insulin for her and she responded beautifully to tablets. So next 30, 40 years, she was off insulin.
Wow.
And so she is one of those who clinically had
Yes.
MODI.
Yes. Yes.
I picked it up before genetic testing. Okay. So Arun Khanna, my query is about general vaccination, not COVID vaccination. Kids can get it at certain age. Yes, Arun, I think if you have no general vaccination, of course, for children is a must. MMR and all the other diphtheria, tetanus, and whooping cough, and measles, and mumps, and so all these are definitely to be given for children. COVID vaccination alone, we don't have clarity. In fact, even influenza vaccination and so on, even children can take, especially if they have diabetes. It is recommended for type 1 diabetic children to have influenza vaccination if they have comorbid conditions. So you can definitely take that. Rakesh Katribal, can availability of insulin test strips for sugar assured at cheaper rates by government hospital as type 1 diabetes becoming costlier? Yes, I agree, Rakesh. That's been one of my life's missions. I can publicly say that when about 20 years ago, the cost of a glucometer was 8,000 rupees, 8,000,
Yes.
9,000 almost in India.
Remember.
That's 1 month salary for somebody, an average Indian earned 8,000, 10,000 rupees. And, the chairman of LifeScan met a few of us and from here, China, Singapore, and said, why is nobody doing testing? I said, how can they test 1 month salary they have to give to buy a small glucometer? How can they buy it? And he said, so how much do you want the cost for? I said, 90% you take off. Make it
Right.
800 rupees. And he got a shock. He almost fainted. And he said, this is being unreasonable. I said, then forget it. Don't talk to us. Don't say 8,000 and make it 7,000. I'm not interested. If you bring it
Right.
below 1,000, we'll talk. He said, how can we do it? I said, that's what you do decide how to do. I'm not the expert in glucometer. So we sat together, and then he made me a kind of pioneer in that. And then we started working. Then we found out it's the memory which is taking up. So he asked me, "Can I cut out memory?" I said, "Who cares for your memory? Take out the memory of the glucose.
Yes.
People can take a paper and pen and write down their value. If it's going to bring down by 90% the cost, who cares
Yes.
about the memory?" So then they removed the memory and actually brought the price of the glucometer down to 800. So I can say I was, fully, and I kind of released it to the media and said, "Here it is, 8,000 brought down to 800." Now the meter, unfortunately, the strip cost didn't parallelly come down, and so there has been some reduction. There are cheaper strips which are available, but I'm sure in the long run it will happen. Today with CGM, you're getting like 100 readings in a day, and for 14 days and so on. So if you calculate the cost of one reading now, it's actually 2 rupees or 1 rupee for the cost of one particular reading. So it's coming down, but I agree, Rakesh, it has to come down more. Government has to. So the Indian government, I was also part of committees where we tried to bring Indian glucometers, Indian strips, 2 rupee strip, 1 rupee strip. Some of them are good, some of them are still in experimental stage, quality issues are there, but it will come. It's a question of time. Just like we brought that barrier, we'll break this barrier also. Insulin cost, it used to be so high earlier. Suddenly one day all the generics and all came, and then the insulin cost came down. Of course, because the dollar price keeps going up, insulin price is still going up, not because they're increasing the price, the dollar is increasing, and most of them are imported insulins. But then we have companies like Biocon and others making it in India, and now exporting it to other countries. Dr. Kiran Majumdar Shaw, who's one of those, you mentioned the book. It's one of her quotes which is there at the back cover of the book. And she is a very good friend of mine. And she has promised that we'll bring down insulin cost, considerably. So it's going to happen, no doubt about it.
Also, we need to do a glucometer with the CGMs. We need to certainly get it to an affordable price. Still, they are not so.
Still not affordable. Still not affordable.
We lead once again, sir, and bring the CGMs to the affordable level so that everybody can afford
I
it.
think what insurance should give it free.
Yeah.
That is what they should do. See, if you go to Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and all these places, you pay an insurance, and with the insurance, strips come free, your tests come free, your consultation is free. You can get 1 month for 1 month. You can get your supplies, and all that is included in your premium. So if something like that is done, then you don't have any other costs, and I think that is a big move which has to come. Insurance for type 1 people. You pay some insurance, then everything else is free. And if you fall sick, by the way, that is also covered. If we can get that, and it's a kind of complete breakthrough. You don't have to worry about strips and thing, and everything is free. Include. That's my dream. We'll work towards. We'll definitely, and that's why we need to work with you. Because unless I have your voice in that, just for me to sell insulin is doing something. But when you join with you, I become a part of you, and then I can do that. Okay. Mita Vashishtami is asking, my daughter is 8 years old, suffering from type 1 diabetes, taking 4 insulin a day, including Lantus. Can insulin be reduced? Mita, I don't think the number of injections can be reduced unless you're going to switch over to pump. Okay, so 8 years old, pump is not a bad idea. If you want to switch over to pump, then there's no poking at all. Remember once in 2-3 days when you change the pump, that's the only time when the little poke is there. So that's something you can do. Reducing the dose of insulin depends on what you eat. That's where carb counting, which Harsh is talking about. Once you reduce your carbs and then you count it, insulin dose can come down. But don't think about stopping insulin, number of insulins coming down. That shouldn't be your aim. Your aim should be, how do I live for next 80 years without any complications? Or 90 years without complications. That should be your aim, not how many insulins I brought down. Did I bring down dose of insulin? It's not important. Yesterday I had a patient, type 2 of course. He's taking 200 units of insulin. And he is telling me, my GP is telling me I'm taking too much insulin. Now, he's been with me for the last 20 years. The GP has seen him once. And his GP tells him, your insulin is going to harm you. You're taking 200 units of insulin. I have tried 10 times with him to reduce his dose of insulin. He can't. He has got an insulin resistant type of diabetes. Okay. And if you reduce 10 units of insulin, sugar will go very high. With 200, 150, 200 units, he's doing very well. He has no hypo. I've done so many AGPs I put for him, sensors, not one hypo in his entire day. So I told him, look, I've studied you thoroughly and I'm telling you, you need this dose of insulin. You've not had even one hypo in your life. So why do you bother? Don't listen to the GP who has not treated much cases. So he said, okay, now I'm happy, So don't worry about the actual insulin dose, okay? Usha Diman is actually asking, long-term diabetic with other asthma should take COVID vaccine. I think, Usha, you should. I don't know why this Bharat Biotech suddenly put out this bombshell saying if you have comorbidities, you should not take. I'm totally disappointed that they said that, because I feel if people with comorbidities want to take the vaccine. It's not that a vaccine is going to produce all your comorbidities are going to get worsened by the vaccine. In that case, why should you take the vaccine at all? There's something wrong in that statement, and I want to study that. I think people with comorbidities should take the vaccine. Of course, ask your doctor. If there's some immune compromised state which you should not take in a show like this, I cannot tell you everybody take vaccine, and I cannot take responsibility for it. But I think the very people who deserve to take it are the ones with the comorbidities. There's one more question here. Should type 2 diabetic patient need regular supplements? You, Dr. Sharad Sinha, you probably mean things like I don't know, fenugreek or vitamins or B12 or vitamin D, or what supplements you mean. It's nice to have supplements, but most of them come from your food. If you read Cheryl Salis's book, she has given everything about diet, and it's a beautiful book that she has written. The second edition just came out. And I think everything you can get your zinc, you can get your vitamin C, you can get everything. Vitamin D is a little different, because we are 80% of Indians are vitamin D deficient. You have to go in the sun, you have to stand in the sun for 2 hours, very little clothes on, only then it gets absorbed. That's not going to happen. I mean, we all want to be fair, we don't want to get dark, we don't want this. And not only that, if you expose yourself too much to sun, you may get skin cancer also, as is very common in the West. So vitamin D, yes, I think most people need a supplementation, a small either sachet or a small capsule, which will give you, the vitamin D. All others, I don't think you routinely need to take multivitamins, and it just produces costly urine. Your urine will become very costly because all the vitamins go in the urine. Okay, otherwise you don't really need. If you have a B12 deficiency, some neuropathy, you may need methylcobalamin. Vitamin D, yes, you definitely need vitamin D. Most people need vitamin D. Other than that, I don't think any other supplement, unless you're trying some weight reduction, you're a type 2, you want to cut off on meal and take a meal replacement. Yes, it gives you 140 calories. It'll tell you exactly what to do. There's enough protein, slow release carbs. Then it's really good. So Harsh, what else should we be talking about? You might have things to talk to type 1 people who want to be inspired by you.
I would just like to say one thing, that there is nothing we people with diabetes cannot do and achieve in our lives. I am in touch with many people with type 1 diabetes, and trust me, we have a zeal to excel. Why? Because discipline comes to us naturally. We take disciplined diet. We are used to regular monitoring. We are used to regular exercise. Everything is so disciplined in our lives that we are bound to excel. So my message to the people who just been diagnosed, to parents whose kids have just been diagnosed, I agree that it can be shattering initially. Do grief. It's also about of coming out of it. It's a part of acceptance. You'll accept things, but once you accept things, move ahead and inculcate the habit of moderation, inculcate the habit of discipline, and trust me, there is nothing what you or your child cannot achieve. I can do a 5 kilometer run. I go for cycling every day. That's around 20 to 25 kilometers every day I go. Tell me a person who is 39 year old, a normal person, does he do? Perhaps I have never come across somebody who can do that. Honestly, they would most likely avoid it. They would have n numbers of reason not to go. Find that one reason to go. And that one reason, what kind of life you want? You want a complication free life or a long life? I would prefer for a complication free life.
Absolutely. So on that, I mean, people with diabetes. So I was the first to publish in the world, I would say, on long-term survival of type 2 diabetic patients, where I showed that people can live for 40, 50, 60 years with type 2 diabetes, not type 1, okay, type 2. And that's what got me the Harold Rifkin Award from the American Diabetes Association, the highest award. That nobody has proved this, and we have proved it from India. So they gave that. The next paper I published was on people who are above 90 years of age, again type 2, and showed that some had crossed 100, some had crossed 90. And I said, everybody's talking about diabetes reducing the lifespan. Here I'm showing you people are living, and I had photographs of people, 50, 60 of them coming together, all 90 and above. And then they said, seeing is believing, So that was another thing. I want to do this for type 1 and show that, we have isolated here and there. In Bombay, there is 2, then Delhi, there is 2, and so on. But let's get the whole list of India together of all those who have long-term diabetes, and I want you to help me, Harsh, and we'll get all the other type 1 groups together to speak around and get the list and just send me this, and let's form a the registry of all these stuff, and then form a group among them so that they can then come on a show like this and then talk. Somebody who's got 50-60 years coming and talking, as you are all 28 years, you're already inspiring, but imagine somebody with 50-60 years coming and talking. It will be a great thing. Probably you can also moderate that show and then do that. There are 2 questions which are in the thing. Komal Nair and Alpana Vidyarthi asked the same question. Can during puberty diabetes go away because of the hormonal changes? Can the diabetes which is there go away? Anything is possible in biology. I won't say anything is impossible. There's somebody above us, God, who gave us diabetes. God can take away diabetes also. So as a spiritual person, I will never say nothing is impossible, because anything God decides, anything, He can give you diabetes, take away diabetes also. And I've seen this happen. If you ask me in your whole life, I've been now in practice for almost 50 years. And if during 50 years, how many people have you seen with type 1 like this disappearing? I've seen 2. Okay. One was about 15, 16 years old, and then he went away to Dubai, and when going itself, suddenly the diabetes went away. And then after 4 or 5 years, he wrote me, I still don't have diabetes, sir. I don't know whether after 20 years it came back, but it has gone away. There are, some cases of these neonatal diabetes where it's a transient variety, where the first birthday itself it disappears. So like this, rarely we will go, but never go by exceptions in medicine. I saw one case, that means everybody, that's so one case, one case you can report it in the literature as a rare case and everybody will clap hands when you do that. We must go by the majority. What do 90%, 95% of people do that? 90-95% of people, it is not possible to reverse. In fact, both Alpana and Komal, during puberty, it actually gets worse, because that's where the hormonal changes come, both in men, boys and girls. The hormonal changes completely. Until then, they have been having fairly stable. Suddenly, the sugars start fluctuating. That's when you need CGM. That's when you need to intensify the treatment, probably go on a pump and so on. That's this time when really you have to look after those. And there is a theory that up to 12 years, the complication really doesn't matter. 12 years age, not 12 years duration. 12 years duration. If you get 8, 9, 10, they say up to 12, it's okay. The theory has never been proven, but it's a theory. Okay. But after 12, everybody accepts that every year counts. Okay. So 13, 14, 15, those are very critical time. If that 10 years, if you don't look after properly, and if due to adolescence, the children also will be rebellious and all this will happen. That's a time when, I know of a very important person from my association, International Diabetes Association, whose daughter developed almost blindness because those few years were neglected. And then by the time she was 21, 22, 23, she said, now I'll stop, but it was too late. Already damage had been done. So we have to be very careful during that time and protect them. If by luck it happens, and if you know of a case it happened, tell me. We'll publish it together to give some hope to people. Very, very, very rare. Let's not talk about some rare thing and give false hope to people. Even when I said that those of you who have type 1 who may not be type 1, I said like 2 to 5%. I didn't even say 20% or 10%. I said very rarely it can happen. For that rare person, it is 100%. And that is why I even mentioned it in a show. When somebody is listening all over India, there may be that isolated case who like Tasin Chako might go off the insulin completely. So there are such instances, and since we are a referral center, we get all these cases coming in. Neonatal diabetes, for example, Modi, they go off insulin completely. So that's a different thing. They were wrongly diagnosed. They didn't have type 1 diabetes. But actual type 1 diabetes going away is very, very, very rare. Type 2 can reverse with loss of weight and all that. You can see in Harsh's case, he lost 20 kgs in weight. If he had type 2 diabetes, it would have gone. Diabetes would have gone. He's been off insulin, off everything. After 20 kg loss, his HbA1c improved, but he's still taking the shots of insulin. He's still on pump. That's what happens in type 1. Your control improves, everything improves, but your diabetes doesn't improve. Harsh,
it's just that the amount of insulin I take, the units have gone down.
Yeah, definitely it'll come down. Yeah.
Yes.
Because the bigger body surface will need more insulin. At 80 kg, you need more insulin. At 60 kg, you need less insulin. So that is pretty obvious. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Correct. So I think it's been an hour and 19 minutes. I didn't realize that so quickly the time had passed. But Harsh, it's been an absolute honor to have you with us. A person who's had diabetes for 28 years. And not only that, having a child on top of that, having 8 years with diabetes, and then coming forward to talk about it. I know many people will know, "Oh, don't talk about it. We are hiding this. We don't want to tell." But see how Harsh and Arush came to talk about their diabetes. So I'm sure you will be an inspiration to many. I wish Dia all the very best. I would like to actually have more interaction with Dia. Maybe one day we can have a workshop with the Dia people, bring them all, have a panel discussion like this, and
Amazing.
make many of them come in and do that. And after this COVID thing is over, after June, July, I really have plans of having a get together of the type 1 people with type 1 and bring real champions across and make it a big event. And I'll definitely look forward to having you with that. Meanwhile, spread the word around about this long-term diabetes
For
people
sure.
who have finished 50 years. We'll try to
Already
get of that. I'll put you in charge of that, collecting the data on every type 1 diabetic who's finished. Of course, some will simply bluff and say that they finished 50 years and they may not have type 1 at all. All those we'll have to see, but let everyone apply, and then we'll get the questions right, and then we'll check how they said it's type 1. That we can easily sort out. Okay.
Yeah.
So, if there any other concluding thing you want to say, Harsh?
Sir, it's an honor being here with you. I'm really humbled, and all I can say is that let's be together, because I keep on repeating this. I repeat it again today, that together we can, and yes, together we will.
Absolutely.
So thank you, Dr. Mohan. I mean, I'm actually humbled. Thank you so much for giving me this honor. It's an honor for me.
Thank you, Harsh. We have not even met in person. This is the first time that we are actually meeting virtually, but something
Yes.
tells that we can do a lot together. I must thank Damayanti Datta for introducing me to
Yes.
you. And just
Yes.
today, I've messaged Cheryl Salis about you, and so I think I can see the whole team coming together of people who
Right.
mean you well, and I think
Right.
we should be the inspiration for lots and lots of people with type 1 diabetes in this country, that they all have a future to which they can look forward to. And any help, anytime any of you want from me, please do feel free to contact me. I wish you all a very happy year ahead. This year will definitely be better than today is a very special day, by the way. The 21st day of the 21st year of the 21st
Yes.
century.
Century.
And at 9:21 today, this evening at 9:21, it will be the 21st minute and the 21st second of the 21st day of the 21st year of the year 21 of the 21st century.
In just
So
2 hours.
21 today is going to be a very special time, and we're not very far from that. We are at 7:23 now, so 2 hours from now.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. ma'am. Thank you. Thanks a lot, sir.
And if there are
Thank
any
you.
other questions which are here, I will start replying to them, or you can, if you write to me, I'd be more than happy to answer them in the future. Thank you very much, and look forward to more such sessions. Bye-bye. Stay safe.
Bye. You too. Thank you, sir. Thank you.